Why didn't your house sell? I could tell you, but then I'd just piss you off. So guess what I'm going to do? So, go to the bathroom, go get yourself a drink, and then sit down, because this is probably going to be a long one. Hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I am the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast episode. I do believe it's 124, which, well, it definitely puts us past the 2-year mark. Yeah, we've been past 2-year mark for a bit. Today is June the 14th. Well, if you're watching this, it's going to be June the 15th. It is Wednesday, and I'm recording a day early because I'm helping clients move tomorrow. One of the many services I provide is I'm none too bright, but I can lift heavy things, although I do not move mattresses. Hate mattresses. And I also don't move you if I show up and you still don't have anything in boxes, and you need, that's called packing. Ray's not a packer, he's a mover, all right? So anyway, so that's going to be my tomorrow and everything. And so that being said, let's record today. So national news is national news. The Fed's just met. Looks like that they're having a pause right now in increasing the rates. We'll have to wait for a couple of days for it to percolate through. I've talked to 2 different lenders this week, and they both said they can't figure out what the hell's going on because rates are bouncing back and forth like it's having some sort of a heart attack, you know, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. Need this all to stabilize out. I got at least 2 buyers who are watching that thing. I mean, they must have it like just a browser window open. They're just watching that tick back and forth, and it's, you know, they're going insane every time it goes up instead of down. And this is where we're going to be for a bit. All right. The interest rates is the number one thing that is holding us up right now. All right. Followed very closely behind with lack of inventory. Now, if those interest rates stabilize, all right, because remember, this is interesting, a little bit about human psychology, right? If you think rates are going up, you lock in the lowest rate you can as soon as you possibly can. If you think they're going down, you're going to hold back for a bit and wait for them. If it goes up and down in the same day, all right, you sort of get into an indecision loop and whatnot, and you don't do anything. All right, now, this is not doing anything more than right now that's slowing up the volume of our market, but we're having, you know, it is impacting through. And when we get to the numbers, we're gonna discuss that a little bit more. Other national news, didn't really watch anything. Spreams are dropping until tomorrow. I do not think there is any more real estate related court cases they have in front of them. National news, everything's just waiting on all the other news that's in the pipeline right now. And so it all gets pushed to the side. And it's a day early, so, you know, when I record this, so there's only so much that could happen Monday and Tuesday. But on Monday, second Monday of each month, we here at ProStar have a sales meeting where we come down and we talk about the market with our agents and everything, ask them if they need and what they need and help, support, if they've heard anything out on the streets, if they have any questions. And then generally we do a little presentation. Sometimes we bring in third-party presentations like vendors, escrow companies, lenders. People will come in, you know, pitch us their wares and whatnot. Didn't have anybody scheduled for this, so Steve and I decided, mostly Steve, to let's start talking about expired listings, expired and canceled listings. Now, these are listings that went on the market for a certain amount of time and then came off the market because they didn't sell. Sometimes they just run the whole 180 days, whatever the contract was to list that property, and then they fall out, and the seller no longer wants to sell or no longer wants to sell with that agent. Sometimes you just have cancels, and that is where the seller suddenly in the middle of the whole process goes, nah, dog, I don't want to sell this anymore. The job I thought I was going to get, I'm not getting. Whatever my plans were at the time, I've decided I don't want to do that. Sometimes I don't want to sell in this market. I don't want to sell now. I didn't realize that that meant I was going to have to keep my house clean. And people would keep showing up, and I've had strangers look through my windows and stuff because they see the sign. They get freaked out, and they decide to pull their house off the listing. So as a real estate agent, and for new agents who might be watching this looking for clues, this is a way to drum up business and listings, is either you call which is suboptimal. Everybody's getting a billion phone calls a day, or you go knock on the door. All right. And when you knock on the door for a house that has just been listed, the odds are you are going to be going into a relatively hostile situation or potentially hostile situation. That does not mean that you need to let that scare you, but you can have bad words spoken at to you, right? Especially if that seller has just had a traumatic situation selling their house, right? And inside a little thing here, the seller has a reason in their head why they think their house didn't sell. And the number one reason why a seller is going to think their house didn't sell is they're going to say, my real estate agent didn't do his job or her job. All right, that's going to be the first one. All right. Now you're coming in, and as another real estate agent, you have to prove how you're different. All right. What we encourage our agents here to do is we encourage our agents to ask and answer the question. All right. And that question, boys and girls, from for what people want to know, all right, is why didn't my house sell? All right. This is what we want to approach. Like I said, the odds are the seller already has an idea. All right. The seller might be the reason why the house didn't sell, but you as a real estate agent do never, ever, ever blame the seller for why their house didn't sell. All right. Little sales technique and stuff here. All right. But there are, reasons why houses don't sell. And we've covered pretty much the top 3 major ones, and then we're going to go down a little bit in detail in each one. All right. So first reason why your house did not sell, Mr. Seller, is it wasn't properly marketed. All right. This is going to be the number one answer for most sellers out there. All right. Not properly marketed is a nice way of saying my agent sucked. And it could be that their agent sucked, right? Let's look into the elements of not properly marketing a property, right? If you, all right, just listed and waited, okay, that's where you put the house on the MLS, you put a sign up on the front door, and you just wait for the offers to come in. Now, for the last 3 years or so, except for last year, all right, but prior to that and currently going into the market now, you could pretty much do that. All right, houses were flying off. Houses are still flying off, right? We still have a shortage of inventory. And that meant that a lot of real estate agents were either grew up with bad habits or, all right, they got sloppy, all right, and they got lazy, all right? This is on the agent, all right? They just listed and waited for the thing to happen. Another one I see a lot, okay, is bad photos. They go out there, they show up, and they use their cell phones. Like that one I just dropped on the floor. I should really do a technical rehearsal before I start recording. They just grab their cell phone and they go through and they take pictures of the place. They don't even hold it landscape. They do it like this. I see it all the time. I see $1 million listings that were taken with an Android. How can you tell they're taken with an Android? Because the pictures are that bad. All right. The first thing a buyer is going to see, 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, large statistical probability is they're going to see that house on Zillow or some other website. 20, 30 years ago, all right, it used to be you want to make sure the front yard looks good. High importance that the front yard looks good, because that is your buyer's first impression of the house is that front yard. Today, it's the photos, right? Photos are cheap. Right, you can have full-blown dynamic photos taken with drones and specialized equipment. All right, now it'll run you a couple $100 out of your marketing budget. All right, you can also get them for a lot cheaper than that. All right, as an agent, you sort of look at the property and go, how much money, basically agent money, do you want to put in marketing this house, right? And there's not a house out there that a cell phone is actually going to work for. You should at least have a professional camera, at least. Now, I'm sort of an amateur photographer. Right? I got a lot of experience taking pictures. I went and bought the fancy lenses where I can make any little cracker box look like the Taj Mahal. Right? There's also lighting issues you need to evolve. You need to have separate light systems to put in place. Right? And I learned how to do this the hard way by taking pictures of HUD properties with no electricity. I would show up with a generator. just trying to properly light some of these rooms. And HUD would still bitch about it because, hey, screw them. All right, but, bad photos really, really hurt any property, no matter how nice it is. All right, another one, and this is just an aside, open houses, they were not advertised, and it wasn't properly advertised at all. All right, check fire. Hold on for just a second. Look at me, adjusting on the fly. Forget looking at this for the last 5-10 minutes. All right, it wasn't properly advertised. All right, an open house needs to be advertised with more than just having signs out on the street pointing to it. I went back to one of my listings a while ago, and I had another agent showing it, open house. And when I drive to and I will do that. Hey, that's my listing, but you're holding an open house. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm doing a pop-by on you. All right. And I'm going to judge where you put the signs. All right. If you're holding one of my houses open house, I'm going to send you a map of where I suggest you put the signs. All right, I'm not saying you need to put them there. You might find a better way of putting it, but those signs need to be legible. They need to be where people can see them. You don't hide them around bushes, and you need to go patrol them every once in a while. You literally need to go out there and drive your signs real quick to make sure they didn't get knocked down or run over, whatever the hell, stolen, or whatever else happens with these signs. If you're at a property where you're not getting any traffic, go check your signs. Neighborhood kids might have ran off with them. All right, but they have to be in the higher traffic areas. Right, you don't just put one sign out in front of the house, right, on a side street and expect to get traffic. All right, put them in legible areas. And if you, as the homeowner, right, and you leave to let your agent run an open house, do a drive-by on them. Go see where they put their signs up. Are there signs? They should. There should be signs out there. All right, and they should be major street to the side streets, and they should be clearly defining how you make your turns on the way in. All right, and sometimes that means a lot of signs. All right? Sometimes, I think most I ever did was like 12. It took me like 15 minutes to set up all these signs to get it pointed at this area. And you can do balloons, and you do little sparklers and this and that and the other thing, and strobe lights on them to grab people's attention. But those signs need to be in place. But the signs only bring some of the people in. The other ones is you have to advertise your open house. There's a separate thing you can do on the MLS to advertise on the MLS. I have an open house this weekend. You can also advertise on Facebook. You can also advertise on Craigslist. All right, Facebook and Craigslist is going to cost you money, all right? But you have to spend the money to advertise the property that you're trying to sell. This is an expense you, as the real estate agent, need to look into taking care of. I just talked to a broker up in Utah this week, and that broker up in Utah charges her agents $1,495 for every one of their listings, all right, to properly advertise that. Or they charge them an additional 10% off the commission split. All right. What do they get for that? They get the advertising, get the transaction coordinator, they get the professional quality photos. And that's not an unrealistic split. All right, that's really not. Now, I don't pay for a transaction coordinator because we have the systems here in place. I really don't need one. All right. But for professional photos, that comes out of your pocket. You disclose it as a tax write-off at the end of the year. All right. For advertising on Facebook, that's also required. And that's open houses, all right, and general advertising in the process. These are expenses that the agent needs to take on board, not just throw your sign up, all right, and wait for an email to come back to you. All right. So that's the first one. It wasn't properly marketed. All right. Second one is the house is not show-ready condition. Now, this is not necessarily a seller thing, but it's very much an agent not telling the seller and sometimes being brutally honest. Brutally honest. Your house is fugly. It smells. Let's discuss this. People don't realize their houses smell because they live in them. They get used to it. They get conditioned to the smell of the 5 cats. All right? Or even 1 cat. I have 1 cat. I know my house smells like cat because there is not a house out there that has cats that does not smell like cat. All right? Well, let's break it up. All right? The house is cluttered or dirty. All right, very, very big. You might get used to a certain level of grunge in your house. People coming into and to look at your house might not see that. Cluttered can just be as simple as all the bells and whistles and everything that you have on the walls. Right? One of the things I'm always telling people, right? You need to remove you from the house you are selling so they can see them living there. You need to remove you so they can see them. Make sense? All right. So you're taking out personal photos, right? You're taking down excessive furniture, right? You're getting that out of there, all right? It also makes the spaces look a lot bigger, right? Houses look a lot bigger, all right, with the furniture being less, all right? House could be occupied. This is a big turn off for a lot of people, especially if you as a seller do not leave when other people come in and look at the house, all right? Buyers do not get that time to walk the house and fall in love with it. They feel rushed. They're going to go, they're going to get to know, and they're going to shoot right out the door, right? Houses can't be occupied, especially in the first weekend when you're going to get the majority of your first looks. All right. There are things in place. Okay, we have knock, right, which allows you to buy an house, move into it, get you a backup offer in your existing house so you can try to sell it. That's the easiest way that I know of to get through that hurdle. All right. Now you're getting a knock loan on that, and they do tend to run higher than everybody else out there on the market because they have all these expenses baked into the cake. All right. But occupied houses, huge. If you are a landlord and you have tenants, all right, first-time home buyers, all right, might feel bad thinking that they're going to evict somebody, especially if they're looking at your tenants. All right. Second one, all right, is condition. Condition. And we're not just talking the cluttered and the dirty. Okay, we're talking about you've been deferring maintenance on this house forever. All right. If you're going to sell a car, you would empty the ashtray before you sold the car. All right. All right. But that doesn't mean, that's a cluttered, dirty kind of stuff. If you took the ashtray out and never replaced it and there's a big gaping hole in it, that's condition. All right. There are programs out there like Curbio and a couple other groups that we've partnered here at ProStar to help you work on those condition things, especially if it's something major having to do with the property. We're going to discuss a little bit more of this in the next topic, right? But condition is very, very bad. Condition also works on cluttered and dirty, all right? Cluttered and dirty can also mean that carpet is shot and needs to go. The condition itself, that carpet needs to be replaced, or you need to discount on the other side. And finally, staging. Now, I'm not a super big fan of staging personally. All right. I do see how staging helps people understand the flow of a house. All right. I understand how staging can help buyers perceive that the bedroom is not as small as they think it is. Once they see a full-size bed and a dresser and everything there, they realize, oh wow, this room is actually big enough for what I need. Staging has its places. Staging can do things, but I don't consider that as much as condition, occupied, and especially the clutter and dirt side. So third one, all right. This is the big one, not priced properly. All right. Now, notice I did not lead with your house. You put your house on the market for too much. All right. But not being properly marketed, cheap houses get found by more people than expensive houses because there's more people at that price point. Not being a show-ready condition, all right, a good price point can overcome a lot of sins, all right, but not priced properly. And this is where I directly go to the agent, all right, and say very specifically, this is also the agent's fault. And I know you agents out there are thinking, but the seller picked the price, but you accepted the listing. You accepted that listing, right? If that house is not priced properly for its location, condition, and the features it has, and it doesn't sell, well, no frickin' wonder it didn't sell, right? Your job is to educate the consumer of what they actually have in there. And let's break down the not being priced properly side, right? Okay, from the top. All right. Why didn't it sell? Not priced properly. You or the seller used bad comps. Seller might have been looking at a house that sold 2 years ago and you're 2 years into a declining market. Right? They might be looking at a comp that has more features than they do. They're looking at the house next door. It sold for $550. Why can't I get $550 of mine? Because you got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and that's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a 3-car garage and a swimming pool. And you don't have any of those things. Right? Then the other thing is overvaluing features. Swimming pools are not the end all be all. All right? Oh, but I have a pool. Yeah, that's about $30,000. That's not $150,000. Oh, we got new washer and dryer in here. No fee. That's a non-factor. Non-factor whatsoever. All right. Does not bring any value to the property. Might help it sell. Doesn't bring any value to the property. Ultimately. All right. And the final one on this I really want to point out is, let me do that because that's driving me nuts. Hopefully that's not driving you nuts, but it's driving me nuts. All right. Final thing on this thing. All right. Market updates and tracking the market. When I have a listing, I talk to my sellers at least once a week, even if nothing is going on. We track the market around it. All right. We look to see what the competition is up. I'm like having like a hairball or something going on over here. Anyways, you're not tracking the market. You're not seeing what's happening with the market. All right. You can come in with using bad comps because you're looking at comps that were over 6 months ago. All right. Especially last year should have taught us all. All right. When the interest rates spiked up like that and inventory started stacking up, these are the things you need to track. You need to run a search on the neighborhood your listing is in and look at it every day. And then as an agent, you are calling up your seller and going, Dobson 27 just went on the market for X amount. That's a comp to us. That's our floor plan. Right? And they're under us by 15,000. What do you want to do? Now, and you need to, so by watching that, especially if you're in going into that 180-day listing, all right, and you are suddenly getting to average days on market and getting past that, you need to start really checking what's going on with the market. You don't just list the property and forget about it for 180 days, right? You need to be constantly working that, constantly keeping updated on the news that's going on in the area. Sometimes it might work in your benefit. All right? If the comp that you listed that you were looking at that was pending suddenly closes for 40,000 more than yours and you haven't sold yet, right? What's going on with your property? Seriously, all right? So market updates and tracking, all right? That's really, really super important. Making sure that it's priced properly. This is dynamic. This is not fixed, all right? You need to be able to adjust that number in accordance with what the market is doing at any one time. Now, for you, the agent, right, going into this situation, right, you should have this conversation with the seller when you're at the very first listing appointment. You, as a seller, need to be red teaming the sale of your property. Now, red team is a concept in the business and especially the software community. They will sit there and they will ask, okay, it's 6 months down the road, our project has failed. Why did we fail? Right? You should red team your listing. A seller, you should red team your house. I didn't sell in 6 months. Why did I not sell in 6 months? Well, we never replaced the carpet. And we didn't get rid of our 5 cats while we lived here. Or we replaced the carpets, but we kept the 5 cats. All right? And we don't change the litter box out enough. We never got around to painting the rooms like we thought we were going to. We never did the, whatever those particular things in, okay? You got to sit there and go through this entire checklist, all right? Is one of these things going to be the reason why 6 months down the road you're looking at, yourself going, why did this house not sell? You can get proactive on these things, all right? Real estate is a proactive business, all right? We're not a reactive business. Right? We need to proactively go out there, find listings to sell. We need to proactively get those listings in front of buyers. And if we were on the buyer side, we need to proactively go out there and look for houses and, keep an eye on the market and everything. So that's in a nutshell, right? If you'd been sitting there in my sales meeting, we would have covered a lot of that. I would probably use different words. I get a little more loosey-goosey with my agents when I talk about these things. I also use the term weak agent a lot, especially when it comes over to pricing, right? And hopefully you guys, if you're sitting there and if you're somewhere in the Phoenix market and your house you just fired your real estate agent and you're asking yourself, why did my house sell? Hell, call me up. I will look at your listing and I'll give you my unvarnished opinion. Well, you didn't sell because you're $75,000 more than that neighborhood was going to support. Or these photos sucked. Or you see the big inflatable swimming pool in the backyard? Get rid of it. That doesn't bring any value. And whatever the hell it is, right? So, this all being said, what do we got going on with the market right now? What kind of market would you be listing your house in currently? All right. If you're currently going to list your market, this is what today looks like. All right. Actives this week are 11,495, still dropping. We're down 54 from last week. All right. New listings came on. They're 1,734, which is down 24 from last week. Our contracts this week are 2,355, down 71. Notice our volume is still reducing, and closings this week were 1,574. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 596 competitive houses that are going to be trying to sell the same time you're trying to sell your house. Now, that being said, supply still dropping down. We're now down to 51.4, but demand is also dropping. All right, we're at 83.9, which is down from the 84.1, 84.2, whatever we were last week. All right, but since supply is dropping faster than demand, the Cromford Index is still going up. We're now at 163.2. That being said, I wanted to show you this. We have red on this board. We have not seen red on this board outside of the table up at the top for a couple weeks now. All right, Goodyear, month over month, has actually slowed up a bit. They've gone from 128.2, all right, last month, and they're now at 127.1. Not a big jump. Like I said, this is a reduction. It's also Goodyear. They're out there in the sticks. All right, Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye still showing growth from before, but remember, affordability is a lot more in Maricopa and Buckeye than it is anywhere else. Goodyear, Queen Creek. And so these are the areas that we expect still to be getting better on the seller side as the inventory drops. But Goodyear, all right, canary in the coal mine? Probably not, but I'm guaranteeing you these guys have been impacted because of the interest rates. Right? And we're seeing, slowing. Remember, we were seeing 20% changes. Well, now the only 20% change we're seeing down in Maricopa, the bargain basement. Right. Chandler's dropping down. We were saying how Chandler was going up by 20%, but they're still leading number one. They're at 294. All right. This month, time last month, they're at 248. So they're still trending up, but slowing. No, we're not looking at a crash. We're not looking at a crash as long as this is going on. All right, you see active start going up, then we'll start getting tweaky about that. All right, this is all interest rates. This is also seasonality, summertime, and the living is easy. All right, summertime is kicking in. Less people are looking at moving into houses. Kids are now out of school. We're all doing the transition. This is when we hit the summer doldrums. You sort of expect these numbers to go down during summer. They'll start picking back up in the fall. All right. But if you're sitting there thinking that you're going to list your property and you've been holding off for whatever reason, your window it's still open. I mean, geez, right? With these Cromford Report numbers, you're still going to sell, right? And we're still seeing reductions across the board. But just remember, seasonality, not the time you want to be selling. And two, these interest rates are keeping buyers feeling a little froggy, all right? So that's what we got going on across the board there. So, 28 minutes, 42 seconds into this, and I think we're just about ready to wrap this all up. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the show notes below. Please subscribe every once in a while, all right? If you haven't already, notice my numbers have gone up, pretty good for me. I don't know what I'm doing different that people are actually starting to pay attention. I might be getting a little bit better at the way I call these things so the algorithm picks up on it. But share with your friends and family, right? If you're sitting there at a dinner party or something next week and you're listening to somebody complain about how their house did not sell in this market, point them towards this video. I'd really appreciate it. And one other thing I'd like to appreciate you guys, because I do, is last week on Friday, I got an email from my post commander at the Veterans of Foreign Wars that one of our members had passed away, and he passed away by taking his own life. And so we use a term in the veteran community. He joined the 22 today, all right? Because there's 22 veterans who kill themselves every day, and on that Friday he was one of them. That being said, this is one of the major causes of death, especially for men under the age of 50, all right? And women also commit suicide. I'm not going to say anything about that, but if you are in a position where you start thinking that's even a frickin' option, all right, there are a whole bunch of people to talk to. Now, ironically enough, the day before I got the word on this thing, there was a video that came out from one of those new artists I obsess over, right? His name is Ren, and I might have talked to him before, and he tends to do songs based on mental health, mental illness, that kind of stuff. And he actually dropped a video the day before, talking about suicide. All right, now I'm not really into that goth emo suicide romanticism or what like that. This is a guy who's actually has issues, real issues, not middle class white kid issues. So what I'm going to do is at the end of this video, I'm going to show that. I'm not going to show the video copyright issues, right? But there's going to be a link in the show notes below. And at the end of this thing, instead of my normal little meme, if you guys stick around, I'm going to have the contact information for the National Suicide Hotline. So if for whatever reason you ever get to that point where it's like, the darkness starts calling to you and stuff like that, reach out and call somebody, all right? If you don't have somebody to call the suicide hotline, all right? And if they put you on hold, my contact information is in the show notes below, all right? I'll talk to you anything about anything, all right? But I'd like to go back to where I start going to more weddings and less funerals. That being said, remember, the innermost circle that you work with is your own mental health. Right? So work that circle if you need to. You start there. While you're working that circle, all right, keep an eye on those pets and children, or if your children are your pets, or your pets are your children, around the water. Okay? You guys have a really great weekend. I'll talk to you guys all later.